Then after we will start the audio. Thank you. Dear faculties, chat for everyone is disabled, but still, if you have an issue, you can send the private message.
Okay, good evening to all the participants. I hope I am audible to all of you. Please give a thumbs up if I am audible.
You are audible, sir.
Yeah, okay. So, dear participants, for today's session, our distinguished speaker, Professor Dr. Naveen Kumar Chaudhary sir has joined with us. So, sir, may I request you to start a camera if possible? Naveen sir. Naveen sir, am I audible?
सर नवीन हेलो सर नवीन सर 10 मिनट्स में ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं
Oh, okay, okay, no problem. So we'll wait for him then.
ओके सर
Yeah. Sorry, someone from the Naveen sir's office has joined, so we have to wait.
half per minute.
मतलब AC नहीं करवाना बाकी So, dear participants, I hope you all of you have joined with the help of email address that you have registered. Yesterday during the attendance, we faced that you have joined with the different email address and you have registered through different email address. So it's my kind request that please join through your registered email address of the FDP. So it will help us to mind, it will help us to fill your attendance.
Chintan sir, Naveen sir joined.
Yeah, Naveen sir has already joined, but I think sir's office has informed that sir will come to the office. Yes, sir is there. Yes, yes.
Sir is available. Please introduce him.
Yes, sir. So, dear participants, our distinguished speaker, Professor Naveen Kumar Chaudhary sir has joined with all of us. First of all, welcome Naveen sir. And before we start your session, I will introduce our speaker. So, Professor Dr. Naveen Kumar Chaudhary sir is a professor of cybersecurity at the NFSU Gandhinagar and the campus director for the NFSU Goa campus. He is also courtesy research professor at the Knight Foundation School of Computing and Information Science, Florida International University, USA. He holds a BTech IT and Telecommunication Engineering ME degree in Digital Communication and MBA. He earned his PhD in Engineering and Advanced Certificate in Cyber Network Security. Professor Naveen Kumar Chaudhary sir has extensive experience spanning more than 26 years in the engineering education, research, government, which include a tenure of director at the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, and faculty and head of department at Military College of Telecommunication Engineering, Moho, MP. He has authored and edited numerous books and published more than 50 research papers. He has worked extensively on the formulation and implementation of policy and technological legal frameworks in the domain of cybersecurity, e-governance, and forensic science. He is actively involved in promoting startup ecosystem for developing low-cost indigenous cyber forensic solutions, and his area of interest includes the cybersecurity, digital forensics, drones, advanced cyber range, and next generation networking. He is also an editor-in-chief of the NFSU Journal of Cybersecurity and Digital Forensic. He is a IEEE senior member, honorary life member of the Soft Computing Research Society and life member of IETE. He is also a recipient of letter of appreciation for this contribution toward the literacy for Brent St. Denis MP Algoma, Canada in 1994. And Dubai Seva Award for his contribution to cybersecurity education in 2022. Surya Datta Cyber Tech Award 2024. He also received COAS and CCOS commendation in 2009 and 2015 respectively for his innovation and distinguished service. So I request Naveen Chaudhary sir to share his slides and start the presentation. Once again, thank you sir for joining.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Just give me a minute. He's just putting a laptop.
Yes sir, yes sir.
In a
No
meanwhile,
problem.
I just, yes, in a meanwhile, every time he places the laptop to present before the yes, I'll just discuss about the topic which I'm going to cover in the next 1 hour or so.
Yes
So
sir.
I'll be speaking about the artificial intelligence, how artificial intelligence is being used, or the technology more precisely how the artificial intelligence based technology is used for committing cybercrime. Okay, and what is the trend? What kind of crimes which have been reported? And thereafter, what is the threat landscape? And then what should be the investigative approach? How we can investigate such crimes? And then I shall also be touching upon some of the cases which, based on the experience of some of the cases which we have handled at the university. I will also touch upon some of the research project which we have executed successfully in the university related to artificial intelligence. And then finally, I will touch upon the way forward. So this is what the brief outline of my presentation is. Just give me 2 minutes so to get the laptop and then put my slides.
Yes sir.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you, sir.
Please enable us so we can present. ये पर ये कर दो उसके बाद ये कर दो प्रॉपर्ली यूज कर दो अभी मेरे को करना है इसमें please enable host participation.
Yes, sir.
Sir, host can present, I think. It is enabled.
Enabled?
Sir, you are already a co-host. You can click on share.
There is a share
What is
option.
showing host disabled participant screen sharing?
Oh, 1 second. Let me check, sir. Let me check. 1 second.
थोड़ा सा
Our ID is trainingnfsu@gmail.com.
Yes, yes, you can check it. Once again, sir, can you please check it?
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now your screen is visible, sir.
Fine. So, okay. So I will touch upon AI-based crime threat landscape. We have to understand that the initial focus of the artificial intelligence adoption in totality, right from 1991 onwards, was primarily focused on a military domain. Okay. So where the artificial intelligence was used, basically to develop the battlefield doctrine, to plan the operations, to plan the tactics.
Yeah, it is completely visible, sir. Yeah.
Now,
Yes, sir. Yes.
so the initial focus was completely on, battlefield. So the initial advancement in the artificial intelligence was on developing the battlefield doctrine, planning the tactical operations, planning the operational logistics, deployment of vehicle, precision, navigation. These were the priority areas where the AI-driven developments were focused. But then thereafter, 2016 onwards, there was a change. And this change was predominantly because of the introduction of the transformer technology. So those people who are deeply into the artificial intelligence, they very well understand that the transformer technology was introduced. The first research paper was almost came in the same time, 2016. And prior to that, the most of the initiative in the artificial intelligence domain was primarily focused on the CNN, convolutional neural networks. So this transformer technology was a game changer, and then with the advent of the this transformer technology, the concept of adversarial machine learning, generative adversarial networks, all these things gained quite a lot popularity. And let me tell you, these are the technology. It's now deepfake and all. You can even generate a deepfake content using the CNN. But then with the transformer technology, with the help of the encoder decoder, it became so easy that you can see that in the last 4 to 5 years, there is a all of a sudden there is a rise in the cases of the deepfakes. Okay, so this all happened because transformer technology, facilitated all the advancement in the domain of the adversarial machine learning and generative adversarial networks, and that's why there's another domain of the AI was introduced, and that is known as offensive AI. Okay. Some earlier in cybersecurity domain, there was a concept of a offensive security. Now people are talking about a offensive AI. Now the same concept of offensive AI has been picked up by the cyber criminals. Okay. Same tool and same technology, which is related to the offensive AI, and they are using for the malicious activity or malicious intent. So the focus 2020 onwards, okay, is more on especially how to use the offensive AI based technology for crime, for committing cyber crime. Okay? And that's why you would have seen that post COVID, there are rise in the cases of deep fake, and then there are so many evil twins because November 2021 was the time when the first time ChatGPT was brought into the public domain, and you know that how instant it was. But now there are so many variants or the evil twins of the ChatGPT are available in the market. I'll be touching upon all these things. So people started adopting the offensive AI even for committing the cybercrime. Now, when we talk about the artificial intelligence, people are now talking about dark AI. Now, what this dark artificial intelligence is, so I will put the artificial intelligence into two parts. The first category is conventional AI, what we know very well, that it is built with ethical guideline. It improves the efficiency, it enhances the decision making, it automates the task. But at the same time, what does this concept of dark AI means? The dark AI is built with malicious intent and application, and primarily it focuses on cyber attacks, infiltrating systems, manipulating data. So these all falls under the ambit of the dark AI. Now, if I summarize the threat landscape, AI tools and technology threat landscape, so there are a few things I would like to highlight. That the generative pre-trained transformers, they have revolutionized the way we look at the LLMs. Okay? And ChatGPT was the first instance of the LLM which instantly hit the public domain and became very popular. Now there are so many evil twins of ChatGPT are available, and these evil twins have a offensive capability. And these tools can also be regarded as a potential cyber weapon. So now, what are those malicious AI-driven large language models or the AI evil twins of the ChatGPT? So first, I will discuss about the warm GPT that is based on GPT-J. And if you know about GPT-J, so this is like ChatGPT, you can call it version 2, which was available with almost 1.5 trillion parameters. So then there's a Luther AI that has again built upon it. It created it warm GPT in 2021. And right now, this evil twin of ChatGPT has almost 6 billion parameters. And it can be used for bypassing the ethical guardrail of any LLM like ChatGPT. It can be used precisely for business evil compromise attacks. Now, similarly, we have in market now Fraud GPT and Dark Bard. And these LLMs are more specialized in creating malicious code, scam pages, fraudulent messages, providing the hacking tools, creating phishing page, finding links and vulnerabilities so the system can be compromised. And then we have a Wolf GPT that provides a specialized kind of parameters related to cryptographic malware and advanced phishing. Similarly, we have XXX GPT, and that is a toolbox for remote access trojans and botnet. And then Poison GPT, that is again based on GPT-J, and that is that specializes in spreading misinformation and generating a twisted geopolitical narratives or the ideological narratives of the choice of the user. Now, if you look into the AI tools offensive and cybercrime capabilities, I can categorize this into two parts. One is offensive. Offensive means you can generate any malware code, you can generate a code for a zero-day attack, you can use this tool for a psychological operation like generating a twisted geopolitical narratives or the narrative of your choosing. And then as you know that nowadays, the LLMs are also used in a big way in training the driverless cars and the robotics. So if you can twist these LLMs, then this driverless car and robotics data can be manipulated, and if it happens, you can understand the repercussions. Now, when we talk about cybercrime, so these AI tools, it provides a platform for cybercrime as a service. You can use these AI tools for generating deepfake, generating misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, fake news, generating phishing emails, generating hacking tools. So these are the all kind of activities you can use the AI tools for. Now, it's important to touch upon the dark web because dark web has turned as a safe haven for the cyber criminal. When we talk about a dark web, and most of us, what we are familiar with, we are only familiar with indexed surface wave or clear wave or the open wave, and that we can browse through our Google or Mozilla or Firefox and all those browsers which are available to us. But then it only takes us to the sites which are indexed and readily accessible. What about those websites which are not indexed or which cannot be accessed without a credential, suitable credential, username or password? So for such access or that kind of, websites fall under the category of a deep web. So all those resources which are not indexed by search engine and it requires credentials to be accessed. So these all falls under the category of a deep web. Now, there was a survey which was done way back in early 2000, wherein the study was done to find out that how many users are on dark web, on deep web, and how many users usually they access the web through a surface web. So only 5 to 10% people they access the content using a surface web. 90% people they access the deep web. Now the another subset of the deep web is your dark web, and it can only be accessed via specialized software like your onion routers or what we call it Tor project, I2P, net, ZeroNet, and LockNet. So what happens? These specialized software is nothing, but it provides two things. So these two things are your encryption and anonymity. So the moment when you, for example, if you download a Tor browser and if you want to access the dark web resources, so the whatever the data which will move out from your machine will be encrypted. And the moment the data is encrypted, so it provides you privacy and security. Now it helps the cyber criminals to coordinate their attack and evade the detection because their entire data is private and secure. Now, second thing is that the IP address of the destination that is also encrypted. So since the IP address of the destination is encrypted, therefore the identity of the person remains anonymous. Okay? So it has a clock of invisibility, masks the criminal activity, and criminals can plan the cyber attack without any restriction. So even under the garb of the, or the radar of the LEAs, the anonymity and the lack of regulation, because of the two things, cyber criminals operate freely, and then it has also become a safe haven for the cyber criminals. Now, there are a lot of illegal activities which happens on a dark web, but then there are, some activities which I have highlighted in red that you can put, these are the cyber tools for these activities are available as a part of the cyber crime as a service on dark web. Now, the fraud GPT, which I talked about. So this is a video which was available on a dark web about the fraud GPT. Okay. So this fraud GPT, this video, what it reads about, write me a working code for a Bank of America scam page. Okay. So this was a video which was populated on a dark web. And then we were doing some project and then we wanted to access the dark web at NFSU Goa. So we, some research project. So we contacted the people who are selling such kind of, Palm GPT and Poison GPT and all. So he started offering it for $1,000 and finally he gave it for $10 for 1 month subscription. So that was required for the, the research project. And then, you can understand that they may, offer these kind of access of these kind of tool for as low as for $10, starting from $100 for 1 month of subscription. Now, the popular dark web enabled AI-driven cybercrime as a service. Okay, platforms you will find that the first one is AI chatbot for social engineering. So when if you have accessed the dark web, you will now find a AI chatbot for social engineering. You will also find LLM enhanced malware generator. That is what all Worm GPT, Poison GPT, XXX GPT. These are all LLM enhanced malware generators. AI-assisted surveillance tools are available, fake video generators are available. So these all tools are available and it is being offered as a cybercrime as a service on a dark web. Now, I will just discuss something about ransomware and how this case of a ransomware was, or the case of a ransomware can be cracked based on a AI-based approach. So you know that these are the 6 steps which are involved in executing a successful ransomware attack. So the first thing which is important, like if you talk about ransomware or any other malware, so 2 things are very important. That in ransomware kind of attack, the perpetrator will always look for a payable target. And then if I talk about the ransomware, once he tried to push the malware through the entry point, it could be anything like through email, social media account, mobile device, wireless network, applications, people, or through the dirty links, phishing, dirty phishing links, malicious website or social media. So when he tries to push the malware, one thing which is there, that they will try to target, or their reconnaissance only involves those target which has a capacity to pay. So the cases which we have investigated in the past, either big hospitals or industry, a big plant. So these were the cases which were referred to us for investigation. Now, even if you look into the how to tackle the ransomware, now there are 2 things which before I tackle the ransomware kind of attack, there are 2 things which I want to highlight. So there are 2 versions of ransomware. One, it blocks or locks the access to the system, and another version is that it will decrypt the data and it will delete the plain data from your system. And in the second category, or in the latter category, another thing is that either it will take your all the data, encrypt it, keep that data on their own storage, or they may not take the entire data, they will keep the data on the victim system only, but what they will do, they will encrypt that data and then they will delete the clear data or encrypted data, and at the same time, but they will have the private key with themselves. Okay, and that key, even if they exchange the key, that key will be exchanged through a secure communication channel. And the last part of the ransomware attack is the ransomware note. Okay, so this ransomware note is nothing. Most of the ransomware note you will find address for cryptocurrency payment, like something like Bitcoin or something. So you will find that address where the payment can be made with some instructions and some some 2-3 lines about how to pay the the ransom and all. So this is what the typical ransomware attack is, right from pushing the malware, then malware communicating with the command and control, and then with the command and control server, and then maximizing the infiltration before encryption, and then encrypting the data. Now, most of the even if you look at the official websites of some of the technical giant, what they recommend that unplug the system and format the system whenever you have a ransomware kind of infection on the system. But we don't recommend that, because when you do that, then you will not be able to identify the perpetrator and you will not be able to make the evidence admissible in any court of law. So what we recommend, that whatever you have to quarantine the machine, you have to leave the computer on, and then you have to create a backup. You have to make a forensic image, and then you have to also maintain certain things like as per the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam, section 63, subsection 4C, you have to also maintain a certificate which will contain some information about the device and from where the data has been acquired, and then you have to also create the hash value. then you have to also prepare a forwarding note and an acquisition note. These are the things which are required with the legal point of view. So stage number 3 is important if you want to bring the perpetrator to court. If you don't do it, then you will never be able to acquire the proper evidence and be it before the court. Because of the procedural lapses, the case will not be admissible in any court of law. Then you have to check for the decryptors. Now there are a lot of resources which are available. One is No More Ransomware project. That is a joint project of a Europol and McAfee. So these are the joint project, and then there are more than 80 countries. They have also collaborated for this project. So you can look at the website of this project. There are a lot of encryptor keys are available. So if you find that the ransom variant has a matching key, and then you can use that key. Now, if you don't know any procedure, don't rush, because if you rush, then what will happen that either you will lose the crucial evidence or you may not be able to get your data back. In that case, what I advise that you should look for a help of an expert. Like I get a call from a lot of police officers recently. Two hospitals in Delhi a month or 2 months back were targeted by ransomware attack. So the police officer immediately in the early morning, he gave me a ring, and they wanted to know that what is the procedure to tackle this kind of ransomware attack. But then I appreciate this. Why I appreciate this? That if you don't know the procedure, don't rush. Take the help of the specialist. So what we did, we aligned the Delhi police team with our scientific officer, and then we explained that how this case can be taken up or how this case can be approached. Okay? So don't rush, and especially if you don't have a knowledge base and if you don't know how to tackle such kind of cases, refer it to the expert or somebody who knows it, like National Forensic Sciences University. And thereafter, you wipe and restore, because most of the cases, what happens, people just wipe the system and restore the system. So they lose the crucial evidence, and then that such kind of cases can never be represented in a proper way in any court of law because of the lack of evidence. Now, AI-based cybercrime investigations I will talk about. So this is a code analysis of Aris Locker ransomware found on a dark web. So what we can do, that what we did, we took this code and then we uploaded it on an LLM. And LLM, you can see that it clearly categorized all the code into 8 parts. It categorized the code into 8 parts, and then it gave a very simple interpretation of the code, which any layman person can understand. Okay. So now, for example, in the next slide, this is the interpretation of the code which is available. Okay. Now here you can see that step 1 is nothing. It says that it handles a login prompt with some window specific functionality. The section 2 of the code, okay, it defines a variable file types as a list of file extensions. Similarly, 3 is nothing, but it defines Python class worker. Similarly, 4, it provides code, defines a method encrypt file within a class likely local based on the previous context for encrypting file. Similarly, you can see that step 5 is nothing but appears to be a ransom node generated by malware called Aris Locker. Similarly, you have step 6, step 7, and step 8 that provides a visual ransom note associated with the Aris node. So you don't have to manually analyze the code. The code, once you submit to LLM like ChatGPT, Grok or anything, they will clearly analyze all the code for you, and they will give you the clear-cut and very precise interpretation of the code. Now, how you can, investigate the machine, for example, one example I'm giving you on a screen, that event log analysis building timeline for ransomware infection. If some PC is affected with a ransomware infection, because there are 2 things. In crime investigation, there are 2 things which are important. First of all, you need evidence. Okay. And these evidence should be covered with a proper procedure. Okay. And second thing which is important is that building a timeline, because once you build the timeline, then only you will be able to reconstruct the entire crime. Okay. If you don't, if you are not able to build the timeline, then you will face problem in reconstructing the entire crime. So now what we did in the Windows event viewer, or if you know the Windows registry, we went to the security, and there you can see that there are different formats. So we downloaded this in Excel format security logs, because most of the LLM based platforms, either they accept the CSV or the Excel. So we downloaded it in Excel format, all the security log, and then uploaded on an LLM platform. Once we uploaded this log, then what we could get, you can see that again, we got the interpretation of the logs. Okay. Now, once we got the interpretation of the log, it is giving me all the important evidences related to the network, related to the IP, and timestamps, and most importantly, timestamp of each and everything. Okay. Now, most important thing for me is like, timeline for infection, file system impact, which file system is, affected, which type, when network connection was made, to which IP the network connection was made, what was the destination port, what was the, communication protocol which was used, okay, what was the process ID, what was the, file creation event ID. So all those important things, so these are part of the log analysis, any log analysis. So, and that is very crucial for any forensic investigator. So now these all things are available with me. Okay. And second thing is that as a cyber forensic investigator, the most important thing for me is to understand and to jot down what are the indicators of compromise. Okay. So for integration and indicator of compromise is IP address that I must know, and then the what was the attack vector, okay, and what was the attack surface. These are the few things which are very important when you build the timeline. So now it gives me everything. It's a Paris locker. It came through a email attachment. Then check the download history. It gives you the IP address. Okay. It gives you also that now what you have to do next, because when there's a ransomware kind of attack, you have to report. There are 20 points which you have to follow. It also gives you the link. You have to report this to the certain. Okay. So these LLMs models have matured that step. And you can use, if you know how to use it, you can use it to your advantage for an effective forensic investigation. Now, in some ransomware cases, you don't get anything. You get something very, a very weird kind of creature, what you can see on the screen. And nothing written, no note, only I want to play. And some, very weird kind of creature. Now you don't know what is this. So what you can do, that take the screenshot of this picture and upload it on any LLM platform, like we have uploaded on a ChatGPT. Now you can see here that it is very rightly identified that this screenshot shows the infamous puppet character Billy from the Saw horror movie franchise called, along with a phrase, I want to play. The use of this character and message is strongly associated with a type of a ransomware called jigsaw ransomware. Now, fine. With the screenshot, I could make out that this is a jigsaw ransomware. But now what is next? Where I will get the private keys so I can decrypt my data. And second thing is that how I should approach it, because my screen is logged. Now, what should be my next step? How I can get into the system? How I will, now from where I will get the private keys and how I will decrypt the data. So these LLM platforms are very, very, potent platform, very powerful platform. It did not stop there only. What it did, that it also gave the link where the jigsaw decryptor is available. Okay. For example, jigsaw decryptor is available on Bleeping Computer as well as No More Ransomware project. So it gave the link for the both. And second thing, it also gave the procedure to terminate the jigsaw process. How this process can be terminated. So you can get access to your machine and then you can further use the decryptor to decrypt your data. So this is the beauty of the LLM platforms if you know how to use it. Now this ransomware code, you can see that it is in a Mandarin language, and somebody who knows that Chinese language will appreciate. It's a language which has a 5,000 pictorial kind of fonts. I will not call it font, but it is almost like a pictures and then it's 5,000. Okay. Now you can't read it, you cannot unless you have studied Chinese or Mandarin, then only you can read it and interpret what is this. It is Mandarin, Chinese or what? Okay. Now you can see that the screenshot was taken and it was uploaded on LLM. And here you can see it very clearly translates everything, that it's a Chinese, and then it gives you word by word, okay, detail translation of the ransomware note. And then what could be the next step? And this all we have got it from ChatGPT, nothing else. No, and then all free version of the ChatGPT, not even the paid version. Okay. So this is something which is interesting. Now, there was one case which we have received in our Center of Excellence, and then we saw that the code was suspicious code. So one point was, you go through the entire code and then give your opinion. The other option was upload the code on the LLM platform and let's see what this code is. So when we uploaded this code, then we found out that this was of a cyber criminal. Then, you can see on the screen that I would classify the provided code as a ransomware like proof of concept. Okay. And then it gives you all the detail that this code has a file encryption feature and then all those details. So this was a very crucial information. And when we passed on this information to the law enforcement agency and on further interrogation of the accused, he accepted that he was also involved in targeting one of the plants to the ransomware attack. So even if you are not a good programmer, if you don't know how to analyze the code, you can use LLMs, okay, to your advantage for analyzing the code. Now, legal framework. One thing is, in investigation, there are two things which are very important. One thing is investigation, that will be technical in nature. Other thing is that legal part. Otherwise, it will not stand the scrutiny of the code. So what are the legal provisions? Now, the new criminal law treats the electronic and digital record at par with paper record. Earlier, there were two kinds of evidences, your oral as well as documentary. So now your all electronic records or the digital records are treated at par with your paper recording. And second thing is that, so what it means? It means all the logs, even your chats and everything. Now, if you acquire it properly, it will be admissible in court of law. And then the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita 2023, it also classifies cyber crimes as an organized crime. Similarly, you can see that if you map the three criminal law with the technology, you will find that a lot of sections have elements of technology. And that's why the government has come out with interoperable criminal justice system. This is a very ambitious project which has 5 pillars: CCTNS, e-code, e-prosecution, e-prison, e-forensic. So a lot of work is going on. And now you have a provision under which the ransomware kind of attack can be taken or AI-based attack can be taken. Now, if you want to see which are the sections which could be applicable, so the sections which could be applicable is section 43, 66, 65, 66B. It all depends that what kind of crime it was. Okay. But at the same time, one more thing I want to highlight, that all cyber crimes are not cyber terrorism cases or act of cyber terrorism cases. But cyber terrorism cases are always cybercrime. What I mean to say that if the hacker or the criminal, cyber criminal, he has disrupted the ICT services or he has targeted the computer or telecom capabilities, which has a political or a ideological motive, then it becomes an act of cyber terrorism. And in that case, there is a section 66(5), and that will also be applicable. Okay. And recently in Gujarat on February 17, 2025, there was one case in which what has happened that the women which were undergoing a treatment at private hospital in gynecological ward, their CCTV footage were hacked, and then it was put on Telegram, 22 Telegram channels by the criminals. So the police have nabbed those criminals, and the most importantly is that these people are now tried under the clause of a cyber terrorism, that is 66 F, section 66 F. So that is the most important thing, and this is the first time that in India that this case has been booked under this section 66 F subsection 2 of the IT Act that pertains to cyber terrorism. Okay. And you have to also understand that it has a more severe punishment than the sections which I have discussed earlier. Now, if the hacker is a foreign hacker or non-state actor who has based out of India or who is based out of India, then what you can do? So you have to understand that there are Budapest Convention on Cybercrime, in which more than 80 countries are signatory and 70 plus ratified it. And last year only UN Convention Against Cybercrime, there are 65 countries who signed this convention. So these are the legal framework under which the cooperation can be sought from that country. But let me tell you, India is part of none of them. Budapest Convention on Cybercrime, why? Because in the initial consultation, India was not involved. Then UN Convention Against Cybercrime 2024, because it has got some of the provisions related to human rights, and because of that, the India has not signed this convention. So how the cases which pertains to India and the cyber criminal has its presence outside India can be taken. And because these cases fall in the category of a outside India jurisdiction. So such kind of like India has a bilateral MOU with USA, Bangladesh, Qatar for threat intelligence sharing, forensics, training. And we also have mutual legally assistant treaty with more than 40 countries. Okay. And then we also have multilateral forums like Quad, Interpol, where such corporations can be sought for. Why I'm discussing all this, that you should understand that cyber crimes falls into complex category. But then if there are foreign actors who are involved, then there are ways and means. It doesn't mean that that cases can't be handled. Yes, it can be handled, and there is a legal framework, and that's why I'm writing all this. Research and development at National Forensic Sciences University. This is something like AI-driven real-time detection of objects from crime scene using drone. That is what we have developed here. It is developed by one of my research scholars. Like it detects the detail as timestamps, object class, GPS coordinates, and automatically categorizes and saves the detected objects. Like you can see a small here. There are some technical issues. I can't, play this video. It's embedded in the slide. So, what is this all about? This is nothing but, the drone hovers over the crime scene and it will automatically identify all the objects on a crime scene, because you know that if you enter into the crime scene, you may disturb the evidences. Okay. So, to avoid disturbance to the evidences, the drone can fly over the crime scene. It will identify the object, save the object, and tag the latitude and longitude of the object, and then maintain the entire data. Now, this is again AI-driven lightweight framework for dark web like forensics. This is again developed by one of the scholars. You know that dark web has a e-marketplace and a lot of items which are illegal items that is being sold on that dark web. So if there are some items which is of interest of the law enforcement, we have a provision of item classifier. You can classify that item, firearm, ammunition, etc. And whenever such items come on the marketplace, you get alert. So this was again a project. So this is another project which was taken at NFS. What happens in POSCO cases, child abuse cases, most of the time, a lot of data dump is received. Okay, for example, if the CCTV is of 10 hours, 20 hours or something like that, going frame by frame is very, very difficult. So what this model does, this machine learning targeted digital evidence. So it has a crawler that extract each frame, and then what it does, it recognizes any abusive material. Okay, in that frame, it detects it, and it also estimates the age. Okay, because POSCO cases and other cases, some age guidelines are there, and then it will give you all the alert. Okay, then you can take it as a evidence. So you know that out of that 20 hours footage or 3 hours footage or 2 hour footage, where exactly the evidence is and which frame you have to take for the evidence. That also you can do. So this was also a project which was successfully implemented. Scholars. Now, potential areas for cybercrime investigation. AI in conventional forensic investigation, crime scene reconstruction, psychology and drug analysis, forensic ballistics and gunshot pattern recognition. ENOS, some of you, if you don't know ENOS, so ENOS is nothing but like what the sniffer dogs are doing in post-blast investigation. The same thing can be done through a sensor. These sensors can, sense the chemicals, and these sensors can sense the drugs as well. So that all falls under the category of ENOS. So almost there are 200 such sensors are available. R&D has been done. Now, in digital forensic investigation, you can use it for automatic script generation, report making, multi-level analysis, sentiment analysis, e-discovery, and that is quite helpful in the cold cases. Similarly, log and code analysis that also you can carry out. And these are the emerging opportunities, especially for AI-empowered digital forensics, informative forensics, OT forensics, robotics, metaverse forensics, quantum forensics, and dark web forensics. These are the capabilities we have at National Forensic Sciences. We have our Center of Excellence, Digital Forensics and Cybersecurity, that is notified under Section 79A, which is a mandatory requirement for electronic examiner. Has to be present. This is an important requirement for lab for deepfake audio video forensics, misinformation, disinformation detection, ransomware decryption framework, ability to identify AI generated contents, advanced malware analysis. These all capabilities are available with us. And what I propose that there should be a global center of excellence in cybercrime investigation. So more and more academic bodies, they have to think about it. What should be doing and how this collaborating model. or the global center of excellence. The labeling of AI generated content, recently it was in the news that the MIT, Ministry of Electronics and IT, is going to have a new regulation. Any content which has more than 10% AI content will be labeled. That is a welcome step. Categorization of AI tools. Like for example, you can bypass the ethical guardrail of the ChatGPT, and because you know if ChatGPT has a codex integrated in it can generate any code, the multilingual input, voice, text input, and it can generate a code for you. And if you know how to bypass the ethical guardrail of the ChatGPT, you can even ask the ChatGPT to generate ransomware code. You can even ask ChatGPT to generate SQL injection code. So that's why categorization of a tool is very, very important these days. What has happened in Lebanon, because how the first time in the history we have seen that earlier the cyber threats were taken lightly because it was considered as a soft. But in Lebanon, what has happened that how this soft kill has been converted into a kinetic kill with the blasting of the combat net radios and the handheld radio sets. So this is a very important aspect we have to understand. Categorization of AI tool is very important. A military grade tool, societal grade tool. So that needs to be, or academic grade tool. Otherwise, by bypassing the ethical guardrail, one can easily misuse that tool. Now, police need to be, AI trained. Okay, and if they are using the artificial intelligence for investigation, or if they are using the artificial intelligence for predictive policing, they need to know how to use these tools responsibly. And so the capacity building of law enforcement agency is required. And then we have to take some steps on ethical framework and regulation like what we have. Recently, there was a news that India is going to work on regulations on a big one. Yeah. I have done. If you have any questions, you are welcome.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, you can please raise your hand. I will unmute you. Yes, Srinivasan ji.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Thank you for the wonderful lecture. Is my voice reaching you, sir?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
It's reaching you, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, sir. My question is, sir, in your during your tenure, what was the worst ever cyber crime you had handled, sir?
We keep because this is the only university which has a special mandate. So the professors are also empowered to examine, analyze, and report the cases in the court of law. So we get a lot of cybercrime cases, but then at the same time, there is a confidentiality clause. Okay? But then one thing I can always discuss with you that let me tell you that these days the cases are becoming very, very complex. Okay, why the cases are becoming very, very complex? Because of the encryption.
Challenging, very challenging also.
Yes. So the cases are becoming very, very complex because of the encryption. Earlier, it was easy to get the access of the device. Now, when the devices comes to us, for example, if there is an organized crime and there are a group of criminals, and so sometimes you get more than 100 machines which comes to you, mobile, laptops. Yes. So there are two things which are important. One thing is that these days there's advanced encryption, and then all these smartphones, and especially the Chinese phone, they have their own proprietary encryption. So breaking the encryption and getting access to the device, that is one challenge we do always, most of the time. And whenever iOS updates are there, so whatever even the best tool, immediately they don't release the reverse engineering keys. Okay. So again, breaking the encryption and getting the access to that device is again a big challenge.
Yes.
And second thing is that these days, like for example, 100, 200, 300 devices are coming. There are some organized crime. Okay. So what happens that putting all the device together and you know, uh, like finding evidence, like it is some challenges, you can understand. Like if you put a needle in a haystack and then you try
Yes.
to find out a needle, okay?
Hmm.
How the finding evidence, if there are more than 100, 200, there was a one instant in which we received 265 devices related to one case.
Hmm.
How to correlate it, and if the people are involved in the crime and they have some linkages.
Hmm.
So now more than 200 devices, 100 devices, how to establish the link, how to, find out that the evidence, that is what I say, the challenge is like, finding a needle in the haystack. So these are the
Hmm.
challenges we face usually. The challenges we face.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Srinivasan ji.
Thank
We
you.
have next question is by Govindraj ji. Govindraj ji, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Govindraj ji, please.
Namaste, sir. Sir, I'm interested to know about to establish forensic laboratory. What are the funding we are getting? Then how we need to get the funding for research establishment, sir?
The two, three things I'll just tell you that government of India also has few, funding. One is known as Nirbhay funding. Okay. So Nirbhay funding is available with the Ministry of Home Affairs. So if you are doing anything, like for example, I have seen some of the institutions, they are, establishing a digital forensic laboratory. So if something to do with the, to counter the crime against the women. So if you are establishing that, laboratory, then you can ask for funds from MHA under that Nirbhay funding. That is possible. One of the universities has done it. So that is then UNO also, they also support some projects, because in one of the states they had onboarded us as a consultant and knowledge partner to implement one of the digital forensic project, but in which the funding they had got it from the uh, some UN body. I don't remember correctly, and so they also fund. It depends, you have to look for some funding sources, but then what I know little bit that I have shared.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank
sir.
you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Lokesh ji, you can please unmute yourself.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Please raise your question.
Yeah, my question is regarding the slide in which there was a term e-nose was there. In that there was also one term as gunshot. So I think that gunshot is analysis, or mostly it is related to autopsy, or some new concept is there in that gunshot.
I'm very happy that at least, because I did not cover in detail and you have observed that I'm very happy. So what happens that when gunshot is there, so the direction from where the weapon has been shot, it is very, very important.
Okay.
So how the AI can be used for advantage, because once you go after crime, sometimes it's very difficult, because the criminal will always run away from the crime scene. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So to create the crime scene from which direction that that fire the bullet has been shot, that is very, very important. So the AI models are very good at it. Okay, AI models are very good at it. So even through the if you have a record of the gunshot audio and all these things, that can be used for analyzing that which direction where there is a possibility that it has been shot. One thing is that. Second thing is that if you give other coordinates to the AI model, then it will be able to find out the projection and everything. AI model is good in that also. These are the areas where a lot of work is required, and then 3D modeling and other things which are already there, but then it is not yet exploited, or it is not yet not much research has been done. It is still an open research area.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, next I request Ahlam to unmute.
Good evening, sir. Actually, I just wanted to know that, in the dark market or dark web, our information is sold, right? So I have seen that a lot of Aadhaar card information or phone numbers or other credentials are sold over there. So how can I trace that along with deleting all the information that is present for myself on dark web?
Okay. So, first of all, let me answer this question. That this is again a irony. Sometimes, in one of the very reputed agency, they denied that their data is hacked. And one of the investigation agency, they found that the entire data was on a dark web. And then they were told that you have been hacked, then they have to accept because they had all the proof. Okay. So, but then this issue is dark web is not regulated. None of the country regulates the dark web. So there is no regulation on the dark web. So even if your Aadhaar data is there, and most of the time you have not, released anything in a dark web. How it has come to dark web? Because the person who is supposed to process your data irresponsibly, or either he has not put the security controls, and the hackers have been able to hack that data and they have pushed it on a dark web, or they are selling on the dark web. As a part of that, your credentials or some of your QIC related data or other data may be on a dark web. Now, until unless there is a regulation on dark web, we can't do anything. And that's why, because and if you look at how the dark web has evolved, the dark web, the Tor project, if you look at it in 1995, it came out as a naval US Navy project in which they have wanted to come out with a platform which can provide privacy and anonymity to the people, diplomats, or to the journalists who are working in the war zone or the country which are hostile. Okay, that's how the concept of the anonymous and secure platform came about. Okay? And that's why the Tor project, which is very popular project. So, and there are a lot of countries, they promote this privacy and all this anonymity. So, and at the same time, there is no unanimous consensus among the country unless there is a proven crime and it is taken up. So, if there are a proven crime and if you have a specific detail that your Aadhaar card is on a dark web and it is sold, then you should approach the cyber police station, and then cyber police station, you must lodge the complaint, and then they are supposed to investigate that case, because whatever the cases on a dark web which have been resolved or solved can only be solved with the cooperation of the international cooperation. And how they're tackling the cases on a dark web, most of the time I have seen that law enforcement officials, they themselves operate in the dark web through a covert channels, and then they are able to crack some cases. But the major problem is the dark web, that it is not regulated, and because it is not regulated, the cyber criminals take the advantage and it has become a safe haven. But still, if you feel that some of your personal data is in a dark web, you must lodge the complaint, because there are case studies in which there are countries, they collaborated, and then they have been able to track the cases of cybercrime on the dark web.
Okay, thank you, Naveen sir, for the wonderful answer. Next, I would like to request Satyendra Kumarji for their question, for his question.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Yes, please.
Sir, I know I have the questions regarding the cyber threat. Actually, I have suffering from the cyber threat. How to protest?
Okay, so let me tell you, if you are getting a cyber threat through any electronic means, so that two things I want to share with you. Firstly, if it is a cyber threat, make a complaint at 1930. Okay, make a complaint at 1930. Give a specific detail that threat has come through a email, or that threat has come through a message on a social media, whatever, and preserve that. So once it is asked for an investigation, you are in a position to give that. So if somebody is threatening you through some social media or whatever channel, it falls under the category of a cybercrime, and you can lodge a complaint at 1930, or as well as the local cyber police station.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. We have still 4 hand raised. So one is I request Prabhat Kumarji to unmute.
Good evening, sir. Good evening,
Yes,
sir.
yes, good evening, Prabhat.
Sir, my question is related to ransomware attack. That means a real life example. I have seen a hospital's data is encrypted by a hackers who demand money in Bitcoin to unlock it. So basically, question is related: how can government agencies assist in this case? Suppose this is a case: hospital's data is encrypted by a hackers who demand money in Bitcoin to unlock it. And so my question is: how can government agencies assist in this case? Yes, sir. First of all, whenever you get any ransomware note, never pay. First of all, first advice is never ever pay. Because even if you pay, there is no guarantee that your decryption key will be given to you. First thing. Second thing, it boosts the confidence of a cyber criminal. Okay. So you should not pay. The first and foremost thing is that there are two things which you can do. First thing, you report it to the cyber police station. That is the right way of doing it. Second thing, you can always take the help of a specialist. Sometimes I have seen that the private companies, they don't want to go to the police. Okay. So in that case, sometimes they come to the university, they say, sir, we don't want to report it, but we want our data back. Okay. In that case, I have explained you the framework that some parties you will find that they don't want to go to the police, but they don't want their data back. In that case, what you can do, that you can look for the decryptor key at No More Ransomware project. Okay. And you have to identify the variant of the ransomware attack. So that's why I have given you brief about how LLM, even if you don't know anything, you can take a snapshot of the ransomware note, upload it on a LLM platform. It will give you a lot of information. It will give you even that, what kind of ransomware attack it is. And it will help you to find out the decryptor key, which if it is available on a No More Ransomware project. Take the decryptor key from there and then decrypt the data. That also can be done. And if you and you can also take the help of some institutions like NFSU, which has expertise in this case. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Naveen sir, for the answer. Now I request Devans Parikh to unmute.
Hello.
Yes, Devasji.
Okay. Good evening, sir. I have one doubt regarding the ransomware attack. In the past of years, my one friend is that like उसको सर प्रॉब्लम ये हुआ था कि उसका ड्यूअल बूट सिस्टम था and he is operating with the ransomware virus in the Windows 7 version. And at that time, I think my friend was using the Windows 7 crack version, like pirated key. So ransom will be affected in their whole system, and same time, like my friend's device will be using dual bootable system. Like one is Windows 7 and another is the configure with the Windows XP version. So my question is that कि अगर उसके Windows 7 में ransomware affect हुआ है, तो उस टाइम पे उसकी Windows XP वाली हार्ड डिस्क भी उसके पर्टिकुलर Windows 7 के साथ कनेक्टेड मोड में थी, तो क्या उसके अंदर भी रैंसमवेयर गया होगा?
एक आपको सिंपल आंसर देता हूँ. मास्टर बूट रिकॉर्ड जो आपका होता है ना, एक जो वेरिएंट रैंसमवेयर का है वो मास्टर बूट रिकॉर्ड को आपको अफेक्ट करता है. इट ऑल डिपेंड्स व्हाट टाइप ऑफ what category of ransomware attack it is. If it is the one which affects the master boot record, तो master boot record affect होगा तो जो भी OS आपका चलेगा वो infect होगा. If it is a different variant, then it will only affect the particular OS.
Okay, thank you, sir. I request Amit ji to unmute. This is the last question that we can take on. So, Amit ji, please.
Second, one more point I would like to add, because sometimes what happens, like in a VM virtual machine kind of thing, when you put different OS, and these OS are, communicating with each other, then that time lateral infection will be there. Most of the variants which we have seen, because if you see the entire life cycle of a ransomware, it will definitely, the variant will definitely try to fan out laterally. Okay, so there will be, cases where there will be lateral infection, but then this case was, if I understood correctly, it was related to the dual boot system. Okay? And in the dual boot system, if the ransomware variant is affecting the master boot record, then the OS will be affected.
Okay, thank you, sir. Amit ji, you can ask your question. This is the last question that we can take on. Thank you.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes, Amit ji, please.
Sir, I want to ask about SQL injection. I know that using SQL map we can access the database of any website. So I have already accessed it. So how we can prevent that? Like I can access a university website through my SQL map, and I can also, it is also allowing us to change the database also data. So is it possible to prevent that situation?
But then you have to be a good student. I don't know, you are faculty or
No,
student.
I'm
Don't
I'm
disclose
good
the name
student,
of
but
your
I'm
university website, because there are so many people, they are listening here. What happens, that SQL injection is, the one of the, if you look at the topmost 5 Avast vulnerability, so you will always find SQL, figuring second or third, not first. Okay.
sir, I'm
So
the
this is a
research
very
student.
common vulnerability. Now, how to protect it? Okay, how to protect it? As a good student, what you should do, that you should inform your system administrator or the IT administrator of your university. And then there are two things which can be done immediately. Audit of the website which need to be done. If
Okay.
the website was not audited before hosting it on a hosting platform, it is supposed to go through a audit and assessment, and then what we call it secure coding. Secure coding practices need to be put in place when you are developing any website, and to ensure that there is a procedure of pre-hosting audit. Okay. So if that procedure has not been done, then what you can do as a responsible student, you can inform the IT section or the system administrator, and they will take a necessary action. They should immediately go for a audit and assessment of the website. That's what I recommend. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, sir, one more thing. Is there any tool which is available to check SQL injections vulnerability? Whether we can check our SQL injection develop tool? Is there some sites which are
एक
allowing
का
us to?
एक ऐसा है,
हाँ.
there are so many tools which are available free of cost. Have you used Kali Linux?
Yes, sir. I have used Kali Linux. From there, I am using SQL map. Well, I know
So
how to
then
hack,
you
but I
should.
don't know how to prevent it.
Then prevention is only one way, is audit and assessment.
मतलब
Sir,
मैंने
Audit
जो
and
एक tool
assessment is
बनाया
the
सर.
only, and then post audit,
हाँ.
all the patches need to be fixed, all the security loopholes need to be fixed, and then
Okay.
again audit has to be done before re-hosting the website. So this is the only way.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all the participants also
Thank you, sir.
for their constant involvement in the session by raising so many questions. Thank you, Naveen Chaudhary, sir. It's an honor for us that you have joined for this presentation. It was very informative presentation, and thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening and Jai Hind.
Yeah, Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Jai Hind.
Close kar dena.
Okay, dear
Yes,
participants.
Sir, I have answer of Amit ji.
Yes, please, Parag sir.
Aryan sir joined?
Yes, Aryan has joined. Aryan,
Hello.
Hello, brother. Welcome.
Good.
Please start your camera.
I cannot share my camera, but I can share my screen.
Okay, fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah. So, first of all, welcome, Aryan. I will give a brief introduction about our speaker, Mr. Aryan Pasikhani. He has received the PhD degree from the University of Sheffield. Presently, he is lecturer in the cybersecurity at the University of Sheffield. His major interest of research lies in the intrusion detection and prevention system, reinforcement learning, machine learning, quantum computing, and securing evidence system. He has served as a TPC member for so many good conferences of security and privacy. He has also published research articles in top venues of the conferences, which are core A-star conferences and IEEE journals like IoT and IEEE transaction series. Dr. Aryan is one of the best speaker that we can have for this FDP based on my experience, because we do have shared one same office in University of Sheffield when I was doing the postdoc in University of Sheffield. So thank you, brother, for joining. You can start your presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Chintan, for introducing me, and it was also my honor to be your colleague a few years ago as research assistant and research associate. It was my pleasure, and outcome of our research already published in venues, and the audience can have access to that in the Dr. Chintan, Google Scholar, or my Google Scholar.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much. So thanks for inviting me. Today, I would like to take you through, some concept of security of embedded and control systems. I prepared many slides. I don't know how many minutes I have a time. Is 1 hour, 30 minutes, or 1 hour?
Yes, brother, 1 hour, 30 minutes.
So I hope that as many of them is going to be provided anyway. Regardless of that, the recorded version of the entire lecture will be available in my website for you. So if it's not covered, the slides and the recording version of that is also available.
Yes.
So you can access my background. I'm the lecturer in the Security of Advanced System Research Group at the University of Sheffield. Also, I'm the founder of the SitePass company, which is an autonomous pen testing solution for AI modules. And as Dr. Chinta mentioned, that I have interest in the security of AI, offensive AI, intrusion detection system, and reinforcement learning for cybersecurity. So first of all, since we are going to discuss about the security of embedded system, I would like to take you through what is the embedded system itself. Embedded system electronic product that contains a microprocessor, one or more microprocessors, and a software to perform some constituent function within a large entity. It can be firmwares and other piece of software that is going to be hosted in these embedded systems that we are going to study in next. They have various applications. They are used for the entertainment in the consumer electronics, for household, automotive, telecom, and various more applications that I believe majority of you are familiar with. How they look like. This is the way that embedded system looks like. So we have a physical world and we have an embedded system that is demonstrated in the blue color in this image. We have sensors that observe the readings from the physical worlds, and then majority of the time, these sensor readings analog, they need to be converted to digital. And after the conversion, there is a microprocessor that do some process over these readings based on the functionality of the embedded systems, and then it converts the digital to analog through the conversion component, and then send it to actuator to act in the environment. In the behind of the scenes, we have the software firmware that operating the software level for our embedded system, and we have a hardware like the various embedded equipment that is integrated inside of these embedded systems. They're widely used in the industrial control system and control system process, where we put the set points and we want to control our environment through the process variable readings, and the measurement sensor is going to send it to transmitter, and the set point that later is controlled by the controller and the human operator that is in the input-output modules will act on that, and then controller will convert it to the actuators, and final collimator is going to be conducted on that, and the manipulated variable is going to be sent to the process. This is the loop, because always there is a manipulated variable that is bothering our process and process variable. As a result of that, this loop needs to be repeated to ensure that the value that is the process variable is matched with the set point that the human operator already entered in the input-output signal. So disturbance is always in there. There are many applications of that, like for the safety instrument system, SIS, for controlling the gas leakage or controlling the temperature of or some turbines is variously used. And behind the scene, as I said, there are many embedded equipment that is connected to that. I will skip these things. Beside of that, this majority of the combination of this embedded system can be considered as a cyber physical systems, that there are many embedded systems that are interconnected to each other. And in the industrial control system environment, they can be categorized in various levels as the field network that is considered as a Purdue level 0 and level 1 is in there. And as a IT, that is considered as operational technology networks, and also as a IT networks, that there is a main HMI and data historian and various other equipments that each of them have the embedded devices inside of themselves. The embedded system have various purposes. They're used for the data collection, for the data communication, for monitoring, control, and application specific purposes. And they have various characteristics that I'm going to go through them. They are very application and domain specific. They usually do have the main certain functionality to perform, and they are developed in such a manner to do the intended functionality only. They cannot be used for any other purposes, so they are very concentrated to perform one particular task and only that task. And they are reactive and real time. They supposed to be have a low latency, and they need to perform in immediate time, considering the reading that they are receiving from the environments. In many cases, they designed to operate in the harsh environment, like for the for the fuel industry and for the iron industry. The embedded devices are designed in the manner that they can resist in the high temperatures. And they are designed to work in the distributed manner, where there is a communication network between them to connect these control units to each other and ensure that they can collaborate with each other to perform one particular task. And they design in the small size and weight. This is applicable for the drone industry in UAVs. Then we want that embedded devices perform some particular task, but also they be small in size and they do not be heavy. And they are, as a result of that, they are very resource constrained. They do not have a super computational powers. So any piece of software or security mechanism that we are developing for such an embedded device is supposed to be not that much heavy, because this constraint is not only about the computational resources, but also about the energy resources. For example, in drones, if you put too much computational power on them, then they drain their energy very fast. So they need to be very resource efficient. And I'm repeating this, so they are dedicated to perform a single function. So there are four main requirements of embedded system. They need to function, they need to be efficient, they need to be dependable, and they need to be secure. For function, embedded system, for example, in car industry, they have a various functionality. Like in the car, we have a CAN network that they have a low speed CAN bus and a high speed CAN bus. And for some of them, that is a high speed CAN bus, they are designed to perform a safety system. So they need to perform their job, they need to be efficient, and there should not be error. Otherwise, the safety of the entire car is going to be in danger. Like other functionality of them in the aviations. So aviation, it means that avionics means that the aviation plus the electronics. So if embedded devices fail, the safety of the passenger are going to be in danger. And also in the industry automations, widely they use in the PLC, robotics, RTUs, and smart grids. And also in the cellular networks, they are widely used for the routers, for the GNBs, ground-based stations, and various other applications. So these were about the functionality of them. They function in various applications. They need to be efficient, like for the smart agricultures. They need to be cost efficient. They need to be energy efficient in order to provide the receiver readings of the plants and send it to the HCN or high capacity nodes in order to perform some measurement on them and some analysis over the readings. So they need to be cost effective, weight effective, and energy efficient. As I pointed out earlier, they need to be dependability is another requirement of them. They need to be available, reliable, safe, and the integrity of them should be in place, and maintainability of them should be in place. Which are like the availability, reliability, and confidentiality, also known as the authorized action, that is security. I believe majority of you are aware of CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, CIA. But in the industrial control system, this is usually, although the CIA is very important because we want the information of our clients as a security component of the embedded system be there. But the order of the importance are different in industrial control system. Majority of the time, they know it as a AIC or availability, integrity, confidentiality, because we want the reading be available, integrity of the information be there, and later we care about the confidentiality. Besides that, the security, the safety of embedded system are very important. As I highlighted earlier, majority of the time they are applied in very sensitive settings like car, aviations. So we care that they are sensitive. They, as a result of that, for example, in the car, we have a TPMS, a measurement for embedded devices. So where they control the measurement of the, the air in the tires. And if there is a function or anything, they can report it. And they have other application for the military as well, like they're using the radars, and if the safety of them are not in place, then the adversary can manipulate the safety. Also in the aviation, if the safety are not in place, it can cause a catastrophic outcome that result in the airplane crash. Yeah, I want to repeat it. When we have an embedded system in any infrastructure, it's important for us that we draw the attack vector and attack vector of that, and shows that, okay, what is the attack surface of our settings for that. For example, in here, as you can see in the car, we have a various type of embedded system. They are in place in the airbag, for the motors, for the battery, for lighting, and everything. So since we are using embedded system, we are opening door for an adversary to, there is a potential for the adversary to manipulate this embedded system and cause a negative impact in the safety of the passengers. So we care that we understand and map that what are the attack vectors, and then provide the security of that. If we don't do that, the catastrophe will happen, similar to the case study that happened in the Jeep attacks, where there was an open port of the communication for the firmware of the Jeep. And as a result of that, adversary could remotely take control of the cars and drive it, and cause a negative impact in the safety of our passengers. The report of that is already available in the DEFCON and other disciplines. You can study that further. And in the Airbus A400M story, the adversary hacked the airplane and caused a negative impact on that, and it crashed. So it's important that when we are having the digital asset in very sensitive settings, we provide the safety of that beside of the security. So so this will help us to avoid the environmental and human injury. And safety is not just about whether you can think it's safe, but it's about whether you can prove it's appropriately safe. In order to provide the safety, we have two approaches of safety. One of them is the passive safety, and another is the active safety. Active safety systems are designed to prevent the failure from occurring, while passive safety are designed to mitigate the consequences of failure that do occur. So for the active safety, we can consider like the gas leakages. Like we have in here, we have a programmable logic controller that will take a pressure of the gas pipe, and if it see that if there is any differentiation, then it will trigger the SIS report that there is a gas leakage. This is one of the safety approach. And another approach is a passive safety approach that we have it in the Westinghouse AP1000 reactors, where they design type of physical safety that if even the electronics and all of the entire cyber settings of their nuclear infrastructure failed, they still provide the safety for the settings in the manner that they create a reservoir, water reservoirs, and if the completely electronics of the reactor is shut down and the water heat off as a result of heating the centrifuge, then this reservoir will induce and inject more water to cool down the centrifuge. So this type of the safety ensure that even if the existing embedded system cannot do the job, still the catastrophe is not taking place. And yeah, so these are about the passive and active safeties, and there are more that I want to skip because of the time. In order to ensure that the safety and security are in place, there are many secure design flows. That one of them is in here. We need to follow secure design flow to secure our embedded system. First, we need to ensure that the risk and threat identification are in place, and then we plan the security measures for existing threats, and then secure development and secure testing. We test the existing plan of the security, and we validate the safety, and after that, we hand it over to secure for operations, and we see that how it responds. This is the complete design flow of the secure design flow of embedded systems. Knowing these things, knowing that what is embedded systems, and knowing that okay, what we have a lots of embedded devices in place in order to secure, it is important for us to understand we are securing these settings from whom. Usually, in the literature, they call the adversaries as a threat actors in these disciplines. Threat actors are people, organization, or group that have the ability to create an event or incident that negatively affect the security or safety of other person or organization. Usually, this is a terminology that the people use in order to put a face on the adversary, because they may work as an individual and as a groups. Adversaries who are aiming to damage or embedded devices mainly have three objectives. Sometimes their aim is the cybercrime, they're looking for money. Sometimes they're looking for sabotage, they want to just damage us. Sometimes they're looking for espionage, they want to steal our intellectual property. But mainly their aim is about the cybercrime, they're looking after the money. We can further categorize the threat actors using these circumflex frameworks, where we can categorize them based on the sophistications and based on their aims. You can see that their aims can be profit, ideology, prestige, recreation, and revenge. And based on these things, we can categorize them. Like, for example, cyber criminals, that is our place. Their aim mainly are the profits, and cyber warriors, their aim is combination of ideology and profit, but they are more intent to go after their ideology. And the coders, they have a various interests like a recreation, prestige, and ideology, but they usually more look after their prestige more than any others. Knowing that what is the aim of the adversary that we want to mitigate can help us to understand what type of security measure we need to put in place in order to detect and mitigate them. I will describe these things next. Okay, I believe you are all familiar with the vulnerabilities, what that means, and I want to skip these things because these are not the things. Knowing that what is the adversary aims and objectives, we need to put several set of manners in order to observe our operational environments and collect the information from that, collect the data from that. And after that, perform some processing and exploitation over this data to collect the information. And after that, our analysis and production or expert can analyze this information to create intelligence. Our intelligence might not be complete as our observing environment because our operational environment may not be observed completely. As you can see that in the operational environment, we are collecting some information. And as a result of this collection, we may lose and miss lots of aspects of the collecting information from this environment. And as a result of that, the data that we are receiving from this collection may not be complete. And the process of exploration, the information that is going to be extracted and the analysis of production that is causing the intelligence, as a result that our operational environment not completely observed may not be complete. But the process is in this way that we, in order to generate some threat intelligence for the adversary that we are going to mitigate, we have an operational environment, we collect the information and data, and then process this information to collect information, and then for analysis can take intelligence over that. Who create intelligence? Sensor collect raw data from a various source. A network tab collect the raw data in form of packet captures, and tools or analysis can turn raw data into informations. But only analysts create intelligence. Intelligence comes from a critical thinking and analysis work, combining context, experience, and training of the analyst. Tools do not create the intelligence. This is very important things to keep in mind. Yeah, example of cyber threat intelligence. This is the IP address. This is the data as a result of our explanation. This is IP address is common and control for this malware is the information as a result of our explanation. And the malware is in our system is the information. But we access the data, the address is not purposely targeting our system, and that this is a incidental infection. So this can be intelligence because this is an analysis of our information. So this is the way to categorize and identify what is the information and data. So the risk is the combination of the vulnerability, impact, and threats. In order to have a threat in our settings, we need 3 ingredients in our setting. One of them is a hostile intent, or adversary or the threat actor that is harming us need to have a motivation to harm us. They call it as a hostile intent. The threat actor needs to find the opportunity. The certain condition exists that could allow a threat actor to reach their objective. This is usually considered as a vulnerability. So the threat actor need to find the opportunity or vulnerability in our settings or embedded devices to do harm us. And the threat actor need to have a capability. So the threat actor need to have skills and knowledge to be able to utilize the opportunities and convert it to the threats. So these 3 ingredients need to be in place. It means that the hostile intent need to be there, capability need to be there, opportunity need to be there in order to have the threat. If any of them is missing, then the threat actor cannot do its job. For example, if the opportunity and capability is there, then there is a potential. If the opportunity and hostile intent is there, then it's insubstantial. If the capability and hostile intent is there, it's impending. They need to have these 3 ingredients to cause the threat for us. And this thing is not applicable. So Knowing that the adversary having these three requirements in order to generate a attack against us, it needs to draw the attack paths. The attack paths are mainly described as the process attacker take to research, plan, implement, and execute the attack against us. There are many ways to draw the attack paths, but there is one very famous one that is known as the cyber kill chain. That is the 6 or 7 steps that adversary strategically take in order to, from the outside, reach our valuable asset in embedded system to do harm us. And this attack path usually strategically used by various type of adversary. One of them is advanced persistent threat that later we are going to see what that means. So the cyber kill chain have a various stage from reconnaissance to being that do study their target information. They search for the information to retrieve the information to do harm us. Weaponization, they craft the tools to abuse the existing vulnerabilities. Delivery is the manner that they study how to send these tools and to our setting to execute it. Exploitation means that actually exploiting the vulnerability that they already discovered. Installation means that they want to remain in the system, so they hide themselves in the rootkit or any other piece of information, executable files or services that we have in our setting to be able to remain in the system. Command and control means that they want to have a remote connection and create a terminal or tunnel, so later from their own devices they can control or their targets. Usually the command control also known as C2C. And action and objective means that when they want to actually hit their target, I mean they want to execute the objective of their attacks. Each of these processes we can categorize this process in three main categories: preparation, intrusion, and active breach. Each of them take different period of time. For example, preparation may take hours to months. Intrusions can take seconds, and for the active breach, it takes months. So this is kind of the things that I've already explained. That I described the process attacker take to research plan. I already explained these things. And I mentioned that the cyber kill chain mainly used by the cybersecurity analyst and also used by the APTs or advanced persistent threats. I think this is repeating. I need to go. So advanced persistent threat that is using cyber kill chain have a three terminology. Advanced means that they are sophisticated. Persistent means that they are patient and reside for the long time. And threat means that they are attacking the critical infrastructure. They are increasingly sophisticated cyber attack by hostile organizations with the goal of gaining access to defense, financial, and other target information. So advanced persistent threat considered as threat actors or APTs. They are well funded. They are very hard to detect because usually they have enough financial resources to conduct their attacks. So they are not rushed in order to break into your infrastructure and steal information. So as a result of that, they are very stealthy and hard to detect. They have lots of resources. They are nation sponsor actors, and they have lots of zero-day and private vulnerability. Usually APTs, they are backed with the military of the different countries. We have four main threat actors as a result of the APTs. I don't want to name any country in my presentation, but I mean, in the literature, they consider these APTs by different animal presentation in the research domain. Based on CrowdStrike, this nation can be considered as a panda, that they are most powerful APTs, and then kitten, bear, and colima. So the panda APTs, their aim majority of the time is the espionage. and intelligence collection. They are very stealthy because the majority of the time the attack that they're generating is very not unforeseen and not known before, and they are using lots of private attacks. Kitten is the aim is espionage and tracking dissident, means that the political parties that they oppose them. They are very noisy. They are easier to detect. And the beer, the aim is intelligence collection, espionage, and financial gain. They are less noisy. And Colima, their main is financial gain and revenge, reverse engineering, and revenue generation. And they are very noisy. So if I want to categorize them, I put Panda first, beer second, kitten third, and the Colima fourth. APT's characteristics are a slow and low strategy. They are stealthy, adaptive, customizable, persistent. I go fast over them. They are slow and low means that they are not rushed. They're because of majority of the threat actors, maybe the aim is smash and grab. We see this terminology a lot. Means that they want to go into your infrastructures, go to your settings, hack your embedded devices, collect the information, and run away. Unlike that, the slow and low strategy means that they want to inject themselves in your settings, remain in your infrastructure, and as much as possible in your setting and collect the information and cause a negative impact in your settings for the long run, long time. So that's the reason they have enough resources to be able to sponsor this conducting such attacks. So their aim is a long-term engagement as presented here. They are very stealthy. Threat actor behind the attack campaign comprehensively test and evaluate their tools and attack path emulating target infrastructure. So the attacker usually first conduct a comprehensive reconnaissance. They even sometimes purchase similar equipment that you have in your infrastructure. They reverse engineer it. They emulate their attack and see that if the attack in their own simulated environment can be successful. And after that, they generated the attack. So as a result of that, they are very stealthy. They're adaptive, means that they're following the tactic, technique, and procedure of the MITRE Atlas and many other frameworks, and they update themselves, like the things that we see in the Stuxnet that I will mention that later. So they even generate the updates for their, malwares and attacks that already infected your settings to ensure that it's not going to be exposed over the extended period of the time. And they perform a C2C or command and control in order to provide this adaptivity. And their attack usually is target specific. So since they craft this attack only in order to damage their systems, the particular infrastructure, this is very customized, only crafted for that settings. And they are persistent. I want to move. So the stage of the APT is very similar to the cyber kill chain. First, they perform the reconnaissance, and after that, they establish a foothold like installations, and then they laterally move, expand themselves, and then perform an exfiltration and disruption of the operation, and then they perform a maintenance and updates. So this is the way that they conduct their attacks. So reconnaissance, the attacker gather intelligence about the target organization, establish a foothold, the attacker gain an initial entry into the network, usually through the phishing or software exploit. Lateral mover, the attacker move across the network, seeking higher privilege and more valuable asset. They perform the privilege escalation. And exploitation, the attacker extracts sensitive data or disrupt the operation using ransomware or sabotage. And the maintenance, the attacker ensure ongoing access to the compromised system for further attacks. So these are some example of the APT attacks, like for the Cozy Beer and Kalima. I'm not going to go through them because there are more topics that to cover, but the slide will be shared so you can Google them and search about them. There is a very comprehensive list of the existing attacks from the APTs in the VX underground. These usually have the attack itself, the malwares, infected files, and reports. I mean, executive summary and deep analytical reports of each of the attacks. And they are very updated. So I encourage all of you to have a look at that, but be sure that you do not use this malware in your setting and use the sandbox environment, because they are actual malware and the viruses that hosted in this website. Okay, in order to establish security posture, so threat modeling. So knowing that what is the threat actor, what is the attack paths, so in order to conduct the analyze and perform the security posture to mitigate, detect and mitigate such an adversary is important for us to perform a threat intelligence and threat modeling. The threat modeling is in order to establish a security posture for our system and ensure we are enabling the right security protection. We need to clearly define what our threat model is and what is the operating system configuration and options that we have. So one of the very famous framework to draw the threat modeling is the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Is a globally accessible knowledge-based adversary tactic, techniques, and procedure that the current adversary using in order to harm their victims. There is a concept of tactics, techniques, and procedure in the MITRE ATT&CK frameworks, where the tactic is what is the attacker is trying to achieve, what is the objective of that. Technique is how the attacker accomplish the tactics. The procedure is a specific method used by the threat actor in order to accomplish its objectives. Tactics are used to describe high-level attack step used by the adversary. How certain tactic is executed is described by a variety of the techniques. And similarly, for the procedure that I said, is a piece of methodology and software that actually use in order to satisfy the technique. I will skip these things. It's used for by the adversary for the red teamers and red teamer and blue teamer and purple teamers. For the red teamer, that is aim is a offensive team, threat actor, ethical hacker, pen tester. They use the MITRE ATLAS framework in order to conduct and strategically plan their attacks. Blue teams use it to draw the defensive approach for the attacks that the red team is going to generate. And purple team, that is a connection of this red team and blue team, also utilize to this framework in order to see that each of these teams, how they perform and connect the red team and blue team together. As you may know, there is no collaboration between offense and defense. And as a result of that, the purple team is in place to use the MITRE ATT&CK framework to help to improve the security posture of the settings and make a connection between red team and blue team. It's clear that the red team uses the MITRE for the offensive approach and blue team use it for the defensive approach. Yeah. You can access to the MITRE framework from this URL or scan this QR code. And if you access to the MITRE ATLAS framework, you will see such a frameworks that at the top, at the heading, you will see the tactics or objective of each of attacks. And then you will see the techniques. Each of these cells is a techniques. And if you go to each of these techniques, sub-techniques, you will see that. And if you click it, the procedure of that also, you will have access to that. And this is about a procedure of that. For example, for execution, how the adversary can utilize it, what tools need to be utilized in order to perform an execution. And beside of the MITRE ATLAS framework, there are different settings like the attack navigator, also designed in order to draw your MITRE attack framework for your infrastructures, and also attack evaluators that you can utilize to see that, considering the existing defensive approach that you put in place for your infrastructure, how much they can help to secure your setting from the particular tactic and techniques. So the combination of these two things is very valuable in order to have a secure settings. So knowing that, what is the threat models? It is important for us to know that what is the attack surface of our embedded devices. And so then later we can go deep on each of these attacks that exist at a software level and at a hardware level for embedded devices. As you can see in the embedded devices, I described earlier, there is an embedded system that there are many equipment inside of there. There is a memory, there is a system core, and there is an input, output port, and communication interface, and other supporting integration circuit and subsystems. Each of them can be subjected to attack. Like in the memory, there is a firmware. The adversary can manipulate the firmwares and push the manipulated firmware to embedded devices that can cause a negative impact for that embedded devices. In the system core, there is a FPGA, so system on chip, network on chip, and other settings. The adversary can implement various type of hardware attack, like the side channel attack, side channel analysis attack, hardware trojans, and many other settings. Input port and output port is also subjected. Communication interface can be subjected to denial of service attack, jamming attack, and many other attacks that we are going to see some of them. So each of them, as illustrated in here, if we want to consider the embedded devices as the PLC or programmable logic controllers, then each of these layers can be subjected to different type of attack. Like for input, spoof control with a bad input, supply chain is not clear. Protocols, like they can generate a read PLC, DOS attack, denial of service attack, and so on. The more we can decrease our attack surface, the more resilient our system can become to compromise. If we can close the ports, communication layers of our embedded devices, then we are going to have a more secure embedded system. Okay, I believe you all know about the threat, attack, and vulnerability. I'm going to skip these things. So in general, if we have these embedded devices, then the device physical interface and device memory can be subjected to the physical attack, and the device firmware, vendor backend API, updated mechanism, device operating system, web interface, administrator interface, network interface, and many other things can be considered as a logical attack. First, we go through some of the most important logical attack. If we consider the firmware of our embedded devices have these sections, like the application, operating system, drivers, and firmwares, and these things. So this is the application level of our embedded system. So each of them can be subjected to a particular attack. Like for example, embedded system have a firmware, bootloader, operating system, application, and drivers. And as a result of that, the adversary can manipulate each of them. As I explained earlier, for the firmware, they can manipulate the firmware, inject the payload, and update the existing embedded devices with the manipulated firmware and control the embedded devices. A similar thing can happen in the application and driver levels and operating system level. How they can reach the embedded devices? They can use the Google Dork. They can search for the particular service that is hosted in these embedded devices using the Google itself and find them. See that what is the existing open ports. There are more specific platform designed to find the vulnerable embedded devices, like a Shodan, that there are many vulnerable embedded devices listed in here. But I just want to use the opportunity and inform you that majority of the embedded devices that is listed in the showdown also, they are honeypot, they are not actually vulnerable. They are designed by the security expert to be in place to study what is the tactic and technique and procedure that the actual adversary can use in order to exploit the particular state-of-the-art security mechanisms that are in place. So researchers use the showdown, many researchers use the showdown in the manner to study the latest TTPs and utilize the traffic that and tactics that is generated by the adversary to train their defense systems. Yeah, but you can use the showdown for a study as well. And one of the attacks that is there is a denial of service attack that adversary sending many packets to make particular service or port unavailable to be used by the authorized users. A very famous type of this attack were botnet. Botnet is a number of internet-enabled embedded systems that are connected together in order to perform a particular task. The initial aim of the botnet was to use it for the safe security measurement. It was not for the attack, as I pointed out here. Botnet were originally developed to maximize efficiency when performing the repetitive tasks necessary to keep the network of embedded system and running smoothly. The initial intention was not to conduct the attack. The intention was to make it more efficient, the system more running more smoothly. But the adversary utilized it in a different way. Unfortunately, botnets are now commonly formed by attackers taking control of devices without the knowledge or consent of the people that own the devices. This is done through the use of drive-by download malware and trojans. One of the very famous type of botnet attacks was the Mirai botnet that took place in 2016. A particular significant example is the botnet attack on the IoT devices named Mirai. In Japanese means the future, which occurred in 2016. Mirai logged into IoT devices such as IP cameras, home routers, and video recorders using a collection of default username and passwords to execute a distributed denial of service attacks. And they scale up to 300,000 IoT vulnerable devices employed to amplify their attack against the targets. Another type of the application attack is a man-in-the-middle attack, where the attacker, intercept, endanger the confidentiality and integrity of the communication between the victim and the server, and manipulate the information of that. If they can perform the man-in-the-middle attack for embedded devices communication, they can induce the fake sensor data and fake command from the server to the embedded devices. I want to skip these things. Yeah, this is not time of that. So for the firmware injections, that is very, very widely used by the adversary nowadays. They download the firmware of their target system. If it's a CCTV camera, they use the open port of that. They load the web page of the CCTV camera, find out what is the particular version of the CCTV camera, operating system and firmwares, and then download this firmware in the use and inject the payloads to this firmware, and then push the firmware update to this CCTV camera, and then they own this camera by themselves, and they can turn it off, turn it on, and even manipulate the recording of this CCTV camera. Yeah, in order to conduct this attack, they use several steps. They obtain version of firmwares, then they perform a reverse engineering using Redra or DDVG or IDA Pro, and then using Binwatch, they attempt to inject their payloads, and then they push it for update of the CCTV camera in their settings. There are many case studies for the logical attacks against the embedded systems. Example of that is the Philips smart home devices, where the adversary manipulate the multiple weaknesses in these settings. They leverage the weakness of the hard coded symmetric keys, and as a result of that, they could turn on and off their Wisdom Philips lights. Another example of that is the insulin pump attack that they also know it as the hacking the human. The device is discovered to use a clear text message to communication. It was not encrypted at all. So the adversary could manipulate the readings of these insulin pumps and endanger the safety of the patients. Another example of the hacking the embedded devices using logical attack is the hacking the smart guns and rifles, where the adversary find out, the threat actor find out in these smart guns there is a vulnerability in the firmwares of that, and software has become a part of firmwares, and as a result of that, the UART port of that was accessible to adversary, and the adversary could manipulate the bullet weight, velocity, and the change as a result of that make the gun inefficient in shooting the bullet. Besides of the logical attack that we explained, there are many physical attacks that can be in place too. Cybersecurity experts usually consider that something is hardware is very secure and trusted, but this is not correct because hardware cannot be considered the root of trust. Always for the hardware aspect of the embedded devices, designer pay attention to the performance of that and energy efficiency of that, but majority of the time the security aspect of that is not considered deeply. When we are talking about the security of the physical security of the embedded devices, we need to keep in mind these procedures. We need to provide the security of all of these aspects. We need to be sure that the specification of the embedded devices are secure, RTL design, behavior level, IP core of that is secure, and physical design layer of that is secure, fabrication, assembly, and market of that is secure. Otherwise, we are going to have an issue with the security of our embedded devices as a hardware level. The problem that we face with the embedded devices and our digital equipment is that majority of the time, different part of this equipment, electronic equipment, is developed, manufactured in different parts of the world. For example, raw materials is received from one particular country, and then embedded devices, equipment is in another part, firmware and software design in another country. There is a very distributed supply chain in this manner. And when we want to have the security of such a setting for sensitive purposes, like for the military purposes, for the health purposes, we need to ensure that this supply chain is secure. Because otherwise, as I pointed out, for example, this in system on chip, each of these equipment of the embedded devices is manufactured using different components. Example of not doing so is we see it in the last year through the pager attacks, where there was an attack in the supply chain of the pagers, and these pagers were manipulated, the operating system of them were manipulated, and the battery of them was including the explosive materials. As a result of that, the opponents could damage their targets very effectively, and no one realized that. Only because of the vulnerability in the supply chain and vulnerability in the security of the embedded devices firmware itself. Many of the people know this attack as the first type of the hardware Trojan attacks. By hardware Trojan attacks, that is one of the type of attack against the physical devices. It means that the adversary include hardware Trojan in the physical layers of the embedded devices, system on chip or network on chips. So hardware Trojan, briefly, if I want to explain it, is kind of way that we have a original circuit or embedded devices, and for this digital physical circuit, that it has its own put and outputs, the adversary include the hardware Trojan that has a trigger payload to perform some malicious activities. They are very hard to detect because the adversary manipulate little bit only the circuits, the original circuits of the embedded devices, and it's not usually possible to detect the hardware Trojan using the eyes. There are many approaches to detect the hardware Trojan that I will go next. So the way that it works, there is a trigger and there is a payload. So the trigger is kind of logic that the monitoring that when the hardware Trojan need to be executed, and the payload means that what need to be executed when the trigger is already activated. HD or hardware Trojan usually triggered by the sensor internal logic state, input pattern, internal counter value. The payload of the hardware Trojan is the entire activity that the Trojan execution event triggered. The trigger, for example, can be like, for example, for autonomous car, you can put a trigger that, okay, if the wisdom press the brake more than 1,000 times, then the trigger is going to be activated. In this manner, the trigger is going to be time-based. And when that is activated, the payload could be the computer system of the this car should be halted or deactivated. As a result of that, when the passenger is driving the car after 1,000 times, when the trigger is activated, the car computer system is going to be shut down, and then the user even can press the pedal or press the brake to stop it and can cause the accident, or many other cases that you can imagine. Hardware Trojan injection can be in different manners in the CAD levels of the designing the embedded devices, and in the IC design house, in the foundry. All of this is possible that hardware Trojan be placed. Hardware Trojan is different than software Trojan. Software Trojan is hidden inside the software code and activated after a specific condition are met during program execution, but hardware Trojan hide inside the physical hardware and activate after a specific condition are met during the hardware operations. Software Trojan is specific spread from the user to user, adversary to users through the computer activities. But hardware Trojan is not like that. It's spread from user to user, adversary to user through the physical insertion into the circuit. So it means that it should be implemented during the design. You cannot infect the existing embedded devices as a hardware Trojan. You need to insert a hardware Trojan in the design of that embedded devices. Software Trojan can be removed post-development. You can remove this piece of software, but the hardware Trojan cannot be removed post-fabrication. You need to discard and change the hardware equipment that is infected by hardware Trojan. There is many category of the triggers and payloads of the hardware Trojan. It can be digital, analog, and also payloads it can be different types. I've already listed some of the readings for you in here. You can investigate further if you find it interesting. But this, I can say that the hardware Trojan detection and mitigation is a very hot topic. Currently, there are not many organizations that provide security mechanism for the hardware Trojan detection and prevention systems. And the trigger type of the hardware Trojan can be digital triggered. It's a combinational Trojans, means that several requirements need to be met in order to execute the payload, or it can be sequential Trojan. that particle sequence of the condition need to be met, then payload be executed. This is a different type of approach of the Trojan execution by the adversary. Similar things can happen by the payload, and the countermeasure of that. There are many types of hardware Trojan. Some people claim that they can detect the hardware Trojan using side channel analysis. They said that, okay, the temperature, the electricity usage of the hardware Trojan will be changed if they are going to be, the electricity usage of the embedded devices will be changed if they are infected by the hardware Trojan. Although this might be possible, but there might be many noise. I mean, it's not using the side channel analysis for the measuring the electricity usage of hardware equipment and say that based on that we are going to detect the hardware Trojan is a little bit hard. But I can say that one of the very accurate way is to distract the suspicious embedded devices, scan it using camera, and then using the image processes and AI, some people compare the suspicious circuit of the embedded devices that they believe that might be infected by hardware Trojan, compare it with the golden model of the embedded devices, and see that if there is any mismatch, then they can, through this image classification, they can detect that if there is the hardware Trojan in place inside of these embedded devices. The negative part of that, this type of approach for detecting hardware Trojan, is that you need to have access to the golden model of the embedded devices that you are sure it is not infected by embedded devices. Many industries are not happy to provide their golden model or golden circuit of their embedded devices with you. But for any reason, if you can have access to the golden model that they perform in the safe environment and the safe operation, then you can take this approach to detect the hardware Trojan. And there are many papers in this case. Yeah, so logic testing, I want to get, there is a pros and cons of different hardware Trojan testing for side channel or, monitoring energy of the hardware Trojan. The pros is that they are effective for large Trojan, easy to generate test vectors, but the cons is that they're vulnerable to process noise, ultra small Trojan detection challenging. As I said, the normal operation of the embedded devices can vary a lot, and detecting a small Trojan that, only counting the particular sequence is going to be very hard for the smaller Trojan. For the logic testing, the pros of that is that logic testing, first of all, is very time consuming and many times it's not possible. But the pros of that is that robust under process noise, effective for detecting ultra small Trojan. But cons of that is that too difficult to generate the test vectors and large Trojan detection challenging because they are very time consuming to conduct. I believe I have 30 minutes, so now I want to take you through some of the case studies of the actual attacks against the embedded devices. And you can see in here there are many types of attacks for industrial control system embedded devices that is listed in here. But as you can see, one of them is very high in both terms of value and both terms of the effectiveness. That is called Stuxnet. So I want to take you through what is the Stuxnet, what was the Stuxnet, what was its target, how did to get onto the system, how the adversary or the threat actor successfully inject the Stuxnet in their victim settings, how does it further penetrate a network, how does it propagate, how does it update, who created it. So first of all, Stuxnet were discovered in 2010. It targeted nuclear facility of Iran, and it was attacked the Siemens Step 7 that now is named, changed its name to the TIAP portal to reprogram the program logic controller. It had an excellent write-up on Stuxnet, and as a result of this excellent write-up, many scientists and in the literature, they consider that stuckness was a kind of APT attack because it had all of the characteristics of advanced persistent threat that we are going to see next. So mainly the stuckness, we're targeting the enrichment phase of the nuclear facility. And it were causing wear out impact on the gas centrifuge of the nuclear facility. So the centrifuge usually used to separate the isotope separation of the gases. For example, to separate the U-235 from the U-238 when these are in gas molecules. So the aim was to extract more valuable uranium. All of the centrifuge is that to extract more valuable uranium from the existing materials that we are introducing to these equipments. So in 2010, Windows-based viruses was identified that target Siemens Industrial Control System. The virus was labeled as a stucknet and mainly appeared in the organizations related to the uranium enrichment infrastructure. Stuxnet reportedly targeted 5 different organizations and claimed that it destroyed about 10% of the victim enrichments centrifuge due to highly complex nature and its specific target development is believed to have been done supported by coordination nation states. I'm not going to go to details of this. So the stage of that was to perform the infections and then surge and then update, then compromise, control, and deceive and destroy. So we are going to go each of these stages in details. So first, infections. So I don't know why it's not clear. I hope that you see the downstairs. So in the air gap systems, that in here you can see that for the Nuclear Institute, there's an air gap system. The entire computer settings and the IT and OT network of the settings are disconnected from the internet. And similar things that is happening in the nuclear facilities. And the normal IT environment is connected to internet, but the OT operational technology network that is hosted by TIA Portal or Step 7 of the Siemens product is disconnected from internet, where it's connecting to the PLC or programming logic controller, where this programming logic controller controlling the centrifuges. In order to adversary or threat actors, in order to make the stuckness successful, they use 7 different mechanisms to spread. These 7, 6 out of these 7 exploited were unknown and 0 days, means that they were not seen before of this attack. So they attack the infrastructure through the vulnerability software of the print spooler. They open shares and propagate to those computers using this spooler, and then they attack to the Step 7 software, and I will go next to describe each of them in details. Stuxnet does not rely only on simple social engineering trick, but also relies on 4 zero-day Windows vulnerability. This is uncommon as the use of 0-day is considered to be expensive investment. This further supports the theory of the Stuxnet was developed by a highly determined, well-funded adversary. The 4 unforeseen threat or private intrusion that the adversary used was these ones. It was MS-10 that allowed the automatic execution of DLLs on the USB stick through the malformed shortcut file. And it was another vulnerability in the scheduler, that vulnerability in the task scheduler, allowing privilege escalation to the system, to the adversary. And the printer spooler vulnerability in the print spooler service allowed the remote code execution over the networks. And vulnerability in the Windows keyboard layout allow the local privilege escalation. So the adversary have the 4 zero-day vulnerability capability to the operating system of Windows, because Step 7 only use the Windows operating system. Using this for vulnerability, they could escalate the privilege to the system. They could conduct a remote code execution, and they could execute a DLL file using USBSD using the vulnerability in the shortcut. This is the complete map of that. You can see that particular USB stick was used as the initial attack vector, as a step 7 system was suspected to be air-gapped. In this manner, they used the printer spooler was used to infect other systems. It means that they perform a spread or lateral movement that we saw in the APT advanced persistent threat. And then the vulnerability in the keyboard and the task executor were used to perform a local privilege escalation to administrator and system. So this was a complete attack path that we see in the cyber that we already seen in the cybersecurity chain in the Stuxnet. And as a result of that, the adversary, in order to show that it's installed, the concept that we see that in the cybersecurity chain, and achieve the persistence, it used the rootkits. So in order to achieve a persistent malware, typically relies on the rootkit that hide in the presence. Stuxnet used the malicious device driver for these purposes. The device driver used by the Stuxnet were digitally signed by the digital code signing certificate that who was first stolen from the number of the Taiwanese companies, Realtek. So as a result of that, they could hide themselves in the device driver. And for the domain and control, in order to update, because this was an APT attack, they could update the malware itself. Over the time, they were generating new version of this malware to make it more effective and perform a command and control. So they were using the SOM server to perform these things. And they hide themselves. It means that if any of the engineer go to the Taya portal projects and open the DLL file were hiding itself to the different name, close the original name, and only show the safe DLL file to the operators. And the malicious DLL file were hidden in the different folder. So in this way, they were staying in the setting for a long time. They were very slow and low, the other characteristic of the APT attack that we see. So Sniper raised the spin rate of the centrifuge to this amount for 15 minutes, and then they make the malware sleep for 27 days, and then make it a slow spin rate for 2 Hertz for 15 minutes, and then stay asleep for 27 days. And this process repeat and repeat again to cause the wear out impact for the centrifuge. And as I said, they perform command and control, they update themselves, and each time they add a new feature to different version of the Stuxnet. And these are the vulnerabilities that are reported as a result of this. So in order to remain stealthy, Stuxnet was highly targeted. It only attacked the right Siemens PLCs. So they were not infecting any other computers or devices. They were only sure that the current computer that they are infecting is connected to the Siemens PLC's S7300. It means that they perform some reconnaissance. They know that they target using this type of PLC for their settings, and they customize this attack only for this type of PLCs. On this specific PLC, a number of particular modules had to present, like for example, the variable frequency driver need to be present, and etc. And in order to remain stealthy, they make the malware in the manner that previously infected system were identified and not double infected. Stuxnet was discovered by accident due to the mistake engineer whose machine was connected to the centrifuge got infected. When he returned home and connected his machine to the network, it started further spreading, and the virus escaped. And as a result of this escape, the world were infected by Stuxnet. So this is the complete attack path of the Stuxnet. So we learn about the various type of attacks, various type of strategy that adversary use in order to infect its settings. But What about the defense solutions? In order to ensure that we are capable to secure our setting from the adversary that we named earlier, we need to ensure that first we need to identify what is the type of adversary that we are talking. We study that, okay, what can be the motivation of that adversary, and based on those motivations, we categorize the adversary to different settings. And based on these settings, we can understand that we can utilize the MITRE ATLAS framework, because MITRE ATLAS framework also is connected to the adversaries. Like, for example, if you go to particular tactics and techniques, it shows that which category of adversary using these tactics before and can use these tactics, is a coder or something like that. So later, if in your infrastructure you see some type of vulnerability or exploited vulnerability from particular attack, then you can also link it to particular category of the adversary, because in the MITRE attack, these things are available. So knowing that what type of adversary we are dealing with, is that the normal adversary, is that nation-sponsored adversary, then we can design the security posture to detect and mitigate with such adversary. One of the approach to design a security posture that I like is the sliding scale of cybersecurity, where there is a 5 dimension of that. Like, we can provide the security in the architectural level, where with the planning, establishing, and upking of system with the security is in mind, supply chain architecture and network aspect of that is going to place. It can be in the passive defense approach, that where you provide the intrusion detection, prevention system, antiviruses, firewall, and other things. It can be active approach, the process of analysis and monitoring of the responding to such adversary is going to take place in this level. And intelligence aspect level of the defensive approach can be in place, where your data analyst will come in this area, where they collect the data, exploiting it into information, and producing intelligence. This is very expensive approach. It means that this layer of the security approach for your infrastructure is going to be more expensive. And the next and the final stage of that, if your organization can afford it, is the offense approach. Means that legal countermeasures and self-defense action against the adversary. It simply means that attack the attacker by itself in order to defend your system. As you can see, offense has the very high value, but it has a very high cost as well. The architecture level has a lower cost, and it has also very good value of that. And there is a, there is a different, there is a relation between increasing the cost and in the level of the security that you want to provide. In the architectural level, you will receive a very valuable information, but with a little cost, and so on. With the passive defense, you also is very high with a little bit more cost, and active defense, similarly, you have a balanced approach of the value and cost, and offense also similarly like that. So based on your budget and based on your infrastructure that you are going to secure, you need to see that what is the trade-off that you can afford in order to provide the security for your infrastructure. But beside of all of these things, I don't know. Chintan, one question I have.
Yes,
I have
brother.
only 15 minutes to finish the meetings, or I have a 15 minutes to question and answer.
So last 15 minutes we consider as a question and answer. So you can be wrapped up within 5 minutes, and later on we can ask for the question and answer.
I say okay. So in order to one of the ways that we want to provide a passive defense approach for our settings is the intrusion detection systems that we want to detect the intrusion after they're taking place in our settings. Intrusion are any attempt, either they are successful or failed, that the adversary make to compromise or attacks embedded. Even failed intrusion have a lot of information, because with a failed intrusion, you can find out what was the purpose of adversary, what tools they use, what vulnerability they see. So you can have a better understanding of the adversary itself. Yeah, because I have a little bit time, I will go a little bit faster. We discussed about the threat actors. The threat actors can be insiders, they can be outsiders. Insider threat actors, they are very, very dangerous because they're already in your organizations. They know your company architecture, and they have some privilege. They need to only escalate their privilege. And not detecting such an insider adversary, then they can cause a huge damage to your infrastructure. Example of that is for the rock traders. And another example of that is a private Bradley Manning that exposed and leaked lots of information from the US military and caused a huge damage to the reputation of the military itself. So this can be considered as an insider adversary that's leaking the information. Why we need an intrusion detection system? There are many security, like we can apply the cryptography, many other approach like firewalls and so on to secure infrastructure. But putting intrusion detection system is also very important for any infrastructure because other security techniques may not fully protect us. Some intrusion may be acting according to our policy. So policy enforcement may not achieve the ultimate goal. As a result of that, it is important to provide the other layers of the security beside of the existing one to ensure that even if there is a stealthy adversary that is bypassing all of the existing security posture, still we can detect the adversary in place when they are acting maliciously or abnormally. Intrusion detection system, or IDS, is a signal detection system. It detects the signal, the intrusion, against the backdoor noise of our normal activities. Usually the way that they work in the computer network is that we are monitoring the network communications, and after that we decode the packets, and after that we extract some feature if we are using AI. And based on these extracted information, we using some historic features, and based on that, we compare the existing incoming signals to the data that we see as a normal. And if there is any mismatch, and we see that, okay, there is some deviation from the normal behavior, then we trigger such a behavior as abnormal or malicious. Intrusion detection system can be in different type. They can be host-based if they are placing inside of your computer. They can be network-based if you place them inside of your network infrastructure, or they can be hybrid, combination of both. And each of them has their own pros and cons. For example, for host-based intrusion detection systems, since they are in place in your computer, they can have access to the unencrypted information, because the packet or information, when they come to your network, after they become unencrypted, they can analyze the payloads and information and detect it. And they are more precise and they have more power in detecting intrusion. The negative point of that is that they only can monitor the single host or single computers. Other approach of intrusion detection system known as the network-based intrusion detection system, where you put the IDS in the router, means that you connect the computer or particular software in the router side, and this router IDS on the router is supposed to monitor the incoming and outgoing packets, and based on the header of this packet, detect the intrusion. Unfortunately, as you can see, since majority of the packets that come to your router are encrypted, the IDS cannot have access to the readings of the payload, and only can make a decision making if something is normal or abnormal based on the analysis of the headers. Like, for example, if it wants to detect the denial of service attack, it will monitor that, okay, over the last 2 minutes, how many packets came, sent it by particular IP address. Based on such a historian and based on such a feature that it extracts, it see that, okay, if some nodes acting abnormally or sending too much packets, then it detects them as a denial of service attack. I just example the denial of service attack. They can detect many other type of attacks, but my point is that network-based intrusion detection system usually detect it by using relying only on the header of the packets, and they're not because they do not have access to the payload of the packets. And the negative disadvantage of that, as a result of that, they are not as powerful as host-based intrusion detection system. And yeah, I mean, for the sniffing the information, these things is a different concept. Usually, network-based intrusion detection system have two interfaces. One interface is that they put it for communicating with the administrator, and one interface is to sniff the information from the networks. Network-based intrusion detection system cannot be disabled by adversary because no one suppose the adversary cannot detect that the existing network or infrastructure already equipped with the intrusion detection system. So if you place the NIDS for securing your embedded devices, then the adversary could suppose not to be able to detect it because NIDS suppose not to have any IP addresses. They are only sniffing the existing communication of the network, not communicating with any nodes. They usually know this concept as a ghost mode. This thing is not applicable for the host-based intrusion detection system. Host-based intrusion, if the adversary can break into the computer or devices that have the IDS, then it simply can detect that, okay, there is an IDS in place and disable or mislead the intrusion detection system. Yeah, I go. There are many more concepts. Chinta, can you tell me how many minutes more I have?
I think, brother, we need to wind up.
Okay, so I discussed about many concepts today. I hope that you get majority of them. The slide will be shared in here with you, and you can have access to them and the recording materials of the full lecture of myself for the Security of Advanced System Research Group, and you can have access to them. Overall, embedded system devices widely used in various settings. Nowadays, they use the embedded, industries and settings use the embedded devices in order to create smart manufacturing settings where they want to monitor the readings and and manipulate the readings of their equipments using embedded devices. Usually, they know this concept as a digital twin, where they want to create a digital replica of the physical industry and be able to control and manipulate the reading of this industry using the embedded devices. There are many opportunities for security of the embedded devices, and today I speak about a part of that. Beside of the intrusion detection system, we have an intrusion prevention system, an assisted intrusion prevention system. We have a concept of honeypots and other things that in the later slide I was aiming to provide you, but for the lack of time, we could not cover it today. I'm happy to receive any question that you have. And
yeah, thank you so much, Aryan. It was very informative session. We have one hand raise. So yes, Srinivasan ji, you can ask your question.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Aryan, for the fantastic lecture. I have a very quick question. Now, you must have read, and all of classmates must have also read, that, India is moving towards, 5 trillion billion economy. Now, my point to you is, well, in this endeavor, and my question is, can our India, strengthen our corporate cybersecurity in order to, achieve this $5 trillion economy?
Srinivas ji, sorry to interrupt. I think Aryan is not based in India, so may not be able to answer the same.
Okay, then can I ask another question?
Yes.
Please.
Then
Yeah.
okay, now you must have, Mr. Aryan, you must have also heard about the UPI payments which are doing in India. Well, it's a global thing now, unified payments interface. Now, lot of money is being transacted via the UPI. Now, I wish to know this again, digital payment, right? So how AI can be used to, you know, all these frauds and all, how do we prevent all this? And next, one small question is, with AI becoming more weaponizing, right? AI is becoming a weaponizing. So how do we protect our country's cyber defenses? How do we protect with increased AI weaponization? Thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's very, very nice question, and I can say that it's an open question, although it's not related to the today lectures. So AI weaponization or offensive AI is very hot topics, and currently is going. And I opened the company as a side pass for the securing the offensive AI and application of offensive AI for cybersecurity. As in one of my slides, I mentioned that as a sliding security posture, at the last part of that was offense. So if we want to see AI, AI can be used both as a defense and offense. And I believe any nation should consider this in mind. For the weaponization and for money transaction, of course, this is out of my field. I do not have any knowledge about, money transaction and application of security for the banking or something like that. But if the question is that how the AI can be utilized in order to make a safe payment, I was in part, I participate in many ways for these manners. Like one of the very interesting part of that is the application of zero knowledge and AI. They call it ZK AI, where they make the AI transparent and authenticable. Means that you can justify and verify the outcome of AI and do not see the AI as a black box. So I don't know if I can share the paper in here with the
You
student.
can, Aryan, you can put in the chat box.
Okay, so yeah, just an example of that. You can further examine this thing. I share the GitHub repository of that. This is a very interesting from my perspective. I do not have a chat box, unfortunately, here.
1 second, brother.
I have it. Okay.
Yeah.
This is one of them. You can find in this GitHub repository, you can find the papers too. So in this way, the AI can be transparent, then outcome of that can be also verifiable. But if you want to only use the AI for detecting fraud or anything mismatch, this is very common approach, and they call it as the anomaly detection approach or abnormality detection approach. You can utilize kind of anomaly detector, I don't know, autoencoder based AI or any other one class SVM or any other approach, train it for the safe transaction of the your organization. And if anything is going to be detected as abnormal, you detect it as outliers. But usually the problem that we have in this manner is that we might have a lot of false positive. Then the main challenge is going to be how to mitigate this false positive. You may consider in placing honeypots, further verification approach to see that if something is detected as a suspicious and the confidence of your AI model is not in the satisfactory level, then you can connect this transaction or the individual that you detected as a abnormal to the honeypot environment and see that if it's going to behave more in the hostile way or not. If it's showing more hostile behavior, then you can ensure that it's going to be unsafe. So next.
Yeah, thank you, Aryan. Any participant have any another question? Yeah, Aryan, thank you so much. All the participants are requested to switch on your cameras. We need to take this. Yes, Aryan, please.
Yeah, of course, why not? But I'm in home. I'm not in the very fancy
Yes,
environment.
yes,
The
no
reason
problem
that I
with that.
didn't take it, my background is not very fancy.
Yes, just I need
That's the reason.
Aryan, I need a just screenshot, and that is the reason. Just for 5 minutes, brother.
It's all right, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, all the participants, and thank you so much, Aryan. It was wonderful session.
Okay,
And please share the PPT with me. I'll share with the participants.
of course. Best
Yeah.
wishes, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you, brother.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you all the participants for joining the today's sessions. See you tomorrow. Yeah, thanks a lot.